Hello and welcome to One on One on Plus TV Africa. And joining me today is the gubernatorial candidate on the platform of APGA. He is a one-time bank director, now running for the office of the governor of the state. It's not his first time, it's actually his second time. And we're going to be talking to him about his reasons for running. We have Dr. Alex Otti, OFR. It's good to have you in our studios.
Thank you very much, Mary-Ann.
All right. So before we started this conversation, we were talking about, the reasons why you are coming back for the second time. I remember in 2015 when you first decided to run, we all knew you as the former
Managing director,
yes, of Diamond Bank. What made you decide to go into politics? Because, you were doing really great as a banker.
Thank you. Yes. I did about 26 years in banking, got to the pinnacle of my career, rising through the ranks, started as a youth corper at Citibank, Nigeria International Bank, then going through UBA, First Bank, where I was an executive director and worked for 10 years, and I was headhunted to transform Diamond Bank, a job that I did in about 4 years. So I thought it was time to go. Most importantly, the state from where I come has been underperforming. It had been, it still is underperforming its potentials. And I thought that the problem was very poor leadership. I arrived and I had always insisted that the fish gets rotten from the head. I also thought that the easiest thing to do is to criticize, sit back and criticize. And I thought it was appropriate for me to get into the ring. And I'm very happy I did that. The election, I won it, but it was rigged, rather stolen at the collation center in the state capital by the former governor of the state and some PDP bigwigs at that time. So we went to court. The tribunal, we lost, but at the Court of Appeal, we won. But in its wisdom, the Supreme Court reversed the victory at the Court of Appeal. And we thought we should wait and see how the man that stole our mandate would perform. 4 years down the line, he has failed to perform. In fact, things have got from worse to worst. Unemployment continues to ravage the state in a country where the average unemployment rate is about 18.8%. That of Abia is 28.3%, 10 percentage points over that of the national average. Anambra, which is another state under the leadership of APGA, is about 13% lower than the national average. Infrastructural decay has been the order of the day. Abia, which is the industrial and commercial nerve center of the state, has been left to decay. Governance had gone on recess. Financial indiscipline and recklessness have been the order of the day. So the reasons for which I quit my job voluntarily in 2014 to contest for governorship have remained. And in fact, they are now in larger numbers. So if I actually did participate in 2014 or 2015, then I should participate with more vigor and more strength now.
Okay, so before anybody wants to run for any office in this country, you must have a base. People must know you, not necessarily your family members, but the people must be able to somewhat align with you. How well do your people know you? Before you decided to run this race, did you at any point contribute to either businesses or young people? What was your contribution to your immediate community, talk less of the state as a whole?
An interesting question, because it's a question that keeps coming up. There is nothing that says that as a private citizen, that you must participate in the public space before developing an interest to run for governorship or any position for that matter. But at my level, occupying very top positions in the financial services industry in Nigeria, it's natural that I must have impacted a lot of people. One of the things that we did in my previous address was to support businesses, support people, support the small and medium-scale enterprises, and I did a lot of that. While doing that, I came in contact with a lot of the business people. And in Nigeria today, majority of business people come from the Southeast. In terms of what I had done with corporate social responsibility, I did a lot also. I'm not in the habit of flaunting that. Some of the help I gave to people, scholarships that I gave people, I believe that those are between me and God. But then the most important point was that I actually impacted every society where I touched my feet. And it is a little wonder that a few months after I hit the ground in Abia State, majority of the people followed me. I can say it without any fear of contradiction, that about 70% of Abia people support me as we speak. And I would like to call your attention to some of the rallies that we've had in the recent times. Some of them were on sister channels. And after now, you may just want to go and check and see what is happening. And that is why my opponents in Abia are jittery right now. After the local government rally that we had about a week ago, my opponents went and burnt down the INEC office because they were afraid.
Are you sure of the fact that you saw your opponents?
I don't need to see them, but there is enough evidence. There's enough evidence, and I have already publicly accused them of being behind it. They did that in 2015. They did. So I have accused them.
Has the police given a statement?
The police is investigating it, but I don't think you should worry about that. It is a...
Just so we're clear.
No, don't worry about it.
Yes. Okay, so let's go back to you being a banker. You told me you've done over 20 years in the banking industry. Are there any takeaways from the banking sector that would help you if you were to emerge as governor of Abia State? What takeaways from the banking sector can help you become a better governor, especially in areas of managing the finances of the state, bring up strategies that can help the state, which is mostly a business state. We know about the area market and all of the youngsters who are making the business sector in that state thrive.
Very good question. Everything is about banking. It's about human beings. And at the level we are operated, I manage human beings. At some point, 8,000 people were directly and indirectly managed by me. That is one. The second point, which is so important, is that part of the problem that my state, and as a matter of fact, a lot of other states are facing, is management of the economy. If you run a very large government, if your recurrent expenditure is more than your total revenue, if you are unable to create the enabling environment for businesses to do well, such that in Nigeria, the tax to GDP ratio is 6%, and in Abia is 0.4%. If you are unable to diversify your economy so that you do not rely on federal allocation for virtually everything that you do. In Abia State, 73% of the total revenue comes from federal allocation. If you understand how the economy works, if you understand that financial recklessness cannot lead you anywhere, if you understand that when you owe workers for 8 months, 9 months, and you don't give them the financial power to spend money in the system, that the economy shuts down. If you understand that when your businesses are not working, then you cannot create employment for your teeming youth. If you understand that insecurity has a lot of linkage with unemployment, so that if you do not create jobs for your people, then they will be left with no option but to go into crime, to go into kidnapping, to go into armed robbery, and all sorts of vices. So if you understand those linkages, then you'll be a better governor. That is the major problem that Abia faces today.
So you're saying that you're the man for the job because you know
Absolutely.
you have when it comes to all of these issues.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the elections. It's well, the first phase is in a couple of days. That's about 8 days, roughly 8 days for the presidential, and then of course in March we're going to be going to the polls with your likes. How certain are you about 2019 elections? What's your level of preparedness? Put that side by side with INEC preparedness in Abia State and maybe nationwide. Do you think that INEC has grown and has gotten beyond some of the challenges it faced in 2015? And do you trust that there will be free, fair, credible elections? And what's your take on your ability to unseat the incumbent?
Good. Double-barreled question. First of all, INEC, I have seen a lot in terms of the preparations that it is making. I believe that the failure of the president to sign the amendment to the Electoral Act was a big blow on the level of preparedness that INEC would have made at this time, because from all my observation and all what I read, I believe that INEC was going to up its game if the Electoral Act amendment was signed. But today, what you see is that we are back to the 2015 days because the most important factor there is the card reader, the smart card reader. I had referred to the Supreme Court judgment that was against me in 2015. And that court judgment simply says, yes, they've seen the report from the smart card reader, which showed clearly that I won the election. But then because the smart card reader was not recognized in the Electoral Act, then you cannot prove overvoting except with the voters register, so which was mentioned in the Electoral Act.
That's what it means.
Sorry?
So it was inadmissible. They couldn't.
Oh yes, and it is still the same thing today. So yes, it is a tool, but if you take it to court, the courts will throw it out because there is no enabling legislation. But again, it's neither here nor there because you know the law the way it is. I believe that even in 2015, if all the elections were conducted with the smart card reader, meaning if you did not have a permanent voter's card or if you did not show up at the polling booth with a permanent voter's card that was read by the smart card reader, you weren't going to vote. Okay, so I thought, my personal opinion was that since INEC has powers to make subsidiary legislations, that the Supreme Court should have recognized that too. But that's by the way. The point I'm trying to raise is that in 2019, what happened in 2015 is still possible for it to happen again. The only thing is that INEC has said that it has scrapped the use of incident forms. That's surprising. But again, INEC also says that if your biometric failed, then you will be asked, once your name is in the voters register, you will be asked to thumbprint on the voters register, write your telephone number, and probably sign and go and vote. So that is reintroducing the incident form by other means. But having said that, I am confident, or let me say, I believe that INEC will do a good job, will do a better job. We've seen the elections that they conducted since after 2015, the one in Anambra, the one in Ekiti, the one in Osun. Even though those elections were challenged at courts of law, but what we saw was a departure from 2015. So my hope is that they will continue to build on what they achieved in those 3 elections. I think there was also one in Edo before then and one in Bayelsa. So the point is that I believe that INEC would like to do a better job than they did in 2015. Having said that, coming back to Abia, we have been engaging, and I have people who are engaging with INEC on a daily basis, trying to understand the preparations that they are making for the election. And the reports I get are very positive. And I understand that most of the senior officials of INEC in Abia want to do a good job. They want to conduct transparent elections.
Okay.
Now, do I think I will win? Yes, certainly. Like I told you.
Because I saw a newspaper publication where you told him to prepare his handover notes that you were coming to take over.
Yes.
That is such boldness. For a person who's yet to get to the polls.
Yeah, well, you need to learn to be bold. Otherwise, you will not succeed in life. But I've seen all the indices. I've seen his performance. Today, he's not talking about performance. He's talking about something he calls equity. And my response to him is that people are hungry. People want good healthcare delivery system. People want the roads to be paved properly. People want light. People want a clean environment. Most of Abia stinks. If you go to Abia today, garbage all over the place, doesn't have a clue what to do with them. He can't clean the environment. Workers have not been paid for several months. Pensioners are dying daily because most of them have been owed for years. And the state is not poor. The only reason for that to happen is simply incompetence. And I believe that Abia people will be looking beyond anything. They will be more interested in somebody that has capacity to govern them. They will be interested in somebody that has track records. They will be interested in somebody that knows what to do. Because, quite frankly, with due respect to him, I think he lacks vision. He doesn't know what to do.
But you know that in Nigeria, we are people who have somewhat of a bandwagon idea when it comes to these political offices. We necessarily go with the ones that we know. Now, I know that APGA is a Southeastern party with a stronghold there, but I've also seen a lot of crisscrossing in political parties lately. How come you're still holding on to the party?
I'm still holding on to the party. I'm still holding on to the masses. In fact, most of my supporters are the downtrodden. They are the ones looking forward to a new vista in leadership. They are looking forward to a better Abia. They are looking forward to a developed Abia. They are looking forward to somebody who would come and wipe their tears.
You sure they're ready to
they are
switch to a new person? Yes, they might.
They never switch places. They had always been with me. Okay, so switching places will not be going to where they go. But like I told you, the man did not win. Okay, so, but of course, a few people gave him benefit of the doubt. The few people that he had with him, a lot of them have pledged support for me, even though they may not want to come out right now. But on election day, you will see what they will do. So I'm very confident that I'll win, and I'm very confident that I will be sworn in. Okay. And it's better for me to win, because he's actually run out of ideas.
Interesting. Let's talk about your manifesto. What is it? Because you mentioned issues that you think need to be addressed in Abia State. There are about 800 primary schools in, let's talk education first. There are 800 primary schools in Abia, 160 secondary schools, 1 teacher training, 5 technical colleges, 1 college of education and a university, I think, and a polytechnic. What are your plans for education? I mean, how's the access to education in Abia State? Because, I mean, the UN has a target for education, and most states hardly, even the federal government, hasn't even been able to get that percentage right. So what are your plans?
It's an area where people have done well on their own. So when you go check the records, you will find that Abia consistently in the last couple of years has been coming first in NECO and in WAEC. So there is a tendency for people to be deceived by those results. Those results are self-efforts. People are very hardworking. The people are tenacious. They are skilled. They're excellent people. So all they need is good governance. Okay, so, but in my manifesto, there are a couple of things that I intend to do with education. And I'm passionate about education, because without education, coming from the poor background from where I come, I wouldn't be here today. So, and I want to ensure that every Abia child of school age has an opportunity to go to school. So the first thing that I would like to do is partnerships with churches, with other organizations. You find that a lot of the schools that are government schools today were missionary schools. So the first thing that I intend to do within 90 days of my being sworn in is to return all hitherto missionary schools, those schools owned by the missionaries, to return them to them and also support them with funding.
So you think that government is not as qualified or capable to run?
No, far from it.
As the missionaries.
Far from it. I believe that the missionaries have a role to play. I also believe very strongly that the strong moral background that the missionary schools used to push in those days that we went to school, that the government doesn't have the will to push them. And I think partnership with the missionaries will help a great deal. Now, having said that, I also think that we need to commit a lot of funding to the schools. Today, you find that the primary schools that you mentioned are under the local governments. And the local governments we have in Abia today are actually run by, without abusing them, people who are not competent. So your qualification to become a local government chairman is that you can rig elections for PDP, you're a thug and all that. So you can go around and check if you're interested. So the local government reform is very, very necessary. So if you have to get it right at the primary education level. Just one minute, I'm coming. 1 minute. So the reforms for local government is very necessary. Otherwise, you cannot have, and it also applies to the healthcare sector, where we are talking education now. So having done that, the next thing that I would do is to ensure that there is a minimum standard in terms of infrastructure, in terms of curricula, and in terms of teaching. Okay, so you ask yourself, what are you teaching the students? A lot of people go through the polytechnics, they've never seen a computer. In the computer lab, there's nothing there. So you must maintain a minimum standard. You may not have all the schools that you have, 800, 1,000. If you don't have sufficient funding, it's better you have fewer that are well laid out, well equipped, and you have the right caliber of teachers to teach them. In the world of robotics, in the world of artificial intelligence, 3D printing, we can't have you need to see some of the pictures of the schools that we have in Abia State. A lot of them don't have desks. The roofs are leaking. The teachers are very few and not properly trained. So it is a massive transformation that I like to do with the educational sector. And then you now graduate to the secondary schools, to the tertiary institutions. Abia Poly, for instance, which is the polytechnic that you mentioned, has been shut for months because salaries have not been paid. Most of the secondary schools are actually not working because teachers are being owed. Yes, they will go there. What do you expect somebody that you are owing for 8 months to do in the schools? So it's a massive transformation that I'm going to do. I have it all well laid out in my manifesto. And you can go to my website, www.alexotti.com, and I have the 32-page manifesto in that website. You can take your time to read it.
So quickly, before I let you go, we know that you have interesting ideas for the state, but for those who are looking forward to the elections, there's been a lot of hot talk about what's the word? There are a lot of people who are saying things that could be incisive. Politicians are throwing words here and there, and it seems to be heating up the polity. There are also people who are foreseeing that there might be violence. There was a report released in December that at least 21 states in Nigeria will experience election violence, and that seems to be all gloom and doom. What do you think, and what are you doing to ensure that there's peace, especially in your state?
Well, first of all, the background from where we come does not support violence. And if we did in 2015, a lot of people would have either been maimed or died, but we would have stopped the manipulation of the result. But we felt that we are going to get justice at the courts, and we chose to go to court. So I've consistently preached non-violence to my people. And virtually everybody that is running with me, the 3 senatorial candidates, the 8 House of Reps candidates, the 24 House of Assembly candidates that are running on the platform of APGA have maintained a non-violent disposition to campaigns, to electioneering, and we ensure that we don't do things that are against the law. It's actually our opponents that we are worried about, because I just told you about a local government INEC headquarters that was burned down. So we worry about them and the kind of violence they may precipitate.
Has there been a peace pact signed by any of the candidates?
I think that will be happening on Monday next week.
And you're hoping
but then, you know, those peace pacts are good on paper. But then when people sign them and they are not committed to them, when people sign them and by the time they leave there, they are doing things that point to them implementing the pact that they have signed in breach, then it's a problem. So I think it's the signaling. It is the message that the candidates send that people tend to follow more than the pacts that are signed. While I agree that it's good to sign the pact, but I think what's most important is implementation of the pact. So, and I'm using this opportunity to call on my opponents to please sheath their sword. It's supposed to be election and no war. I also call on the security agencies to be alive to their responsibilities in nipping in the bud some of the violent dispositions. For instance, I had written to the Inspector General of Police because I got credible intelligence that they were planning to attack me. And I wrote to the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of SSS, and that matter is being investigated. So for us, we are all for peace. We believe that we are coming to Abia to give our people good governance, and they cannot enjoy good governance when they are dead.
And there is no peace.
Yeah.
Well, we want to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Alex Otti, OFR. He is the guber candidate for the All Progressive Grand Alliance, and he's running in Abia State. Well, we wish you good luck. We're hoping that you come out glorious.
Successful.
Successful. And if you don't, we're hoping that you'll extend a hand of friendship to whoever wins.
Don't worry, you should be telling them they should extend a hand of friendship to me because I'll be successful. Thank you very much for having me on the program, and I wish you a lovely weekend.
You too. That's it on One. I am Mary-Ann Okon. Enjoy the rest of our programs.